General, I think you're an outstanding choice. The President could not have chosen a better person to be Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So congratulations to you and your family for a lot of great service. The best is yet to come. When it comes to stopping ISIL, that's the stated goal, is to degrade and destroy. What if we fail in that goal? What can America expect?
Senator, if we were to fail in stopping ISIL, I think you'll see an expansion of ISIL not only across the Middle East but outside the Middle East, and we've obviously seen now elements of ISIL in the Maghreb all the way over to Afghanistan.
So they're an expanding power as we speak?
They're Senator, I think they're expanded in terms of geographic location. I've not yet concluded that they're expanded in terms of capability.
Gotcha. But I remember when we were talking in the office, you said if we don't stop these guys, we can expect a tsunami of ISIL and their sympathizers. Is that fair?
Senator, I think it is fair. That's exactly what I said, and I stand by that comment.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I don't want this tsunami to come, so we're going to have to stop these guys. Is it fair to say that Iraq and Syria need to be looked at, need to be viewed as one battle space when it comes to ISIL? It'd be hard to stop them in Iraq if you don't address their presence in Syria.
Absolutely, Senator. The enemy doesn't respect the boundaries that we see on a map.
Can you envision a scenario where you have a regional army made up of Arabs and maybe Turkey that would go into Syria and fight ISIL alone, leaving Assad off the table? Would they join up for such a fight?
Senator, it's hard for me watching the politics from the outside right now to see that degree of integration given the divergent interests that those countries have. But I can certainly see where that would be an effective way to deal with this, is to have a regional army that would be willing to deal with ISIL.
Right, but my question is, if you did not put Assad's removal on the table, it would be hard to get them to join up just to fight ISIL because they're worried about Syria becoming a puppet of Iran?
That's right, Senator. Most of the countries that you spoke about all have a shared goal of removing Assad from power.
Would you agree with me that Assad's presence is sort of a magnet for Sunni extremists?
I think if not the proximate cause of the ISIL movement, certainly one of the primary drivers of the ISIL movement was the abuses of the Assad regime.
If we go down to 1,000 Kabul-centric U.S. forces in 2017 in Afghanistan, do we substantially lose our counterterrorism mission?
My assessment is we'd have a significant degradation of our counterterrorism mission in Afghanistan were we to do that.
Would we lose our eyes and ears along the Afghan-Pakistan border that we enjoy today?
We would, Senator.
Okay. Would, in your view, that would create a lot of risk to the gains we've achieved over the last decade if we did not have those eyes and ears in counterterrorism forces?
Senator, there's no question it would create risk.
Okay, when it comes to 60 Free Syrian Army troops being trained under the current regime, would you agree with me this is going to be very hard to recruit people to go into Syria if you don't promise them protection from Assad? Because if they get any capability at all in fighting ISIL, Assad would assume that capability would be turned on him one day, and he's not going to sit on the sidelines and watch a force mature and develop without hitting them. Does that make sense to you?
I agree with that assessment, Senator.
So the most logical consequence of training a force to go in Syria to fight ISIL alone is that Assad will see them as a threat to his regime and most likely attack.
I agree with that, Senator.
And it would be very, I think, immoral to put someone in that position knowing that's coming their way without some capability to defend themselves. Does that make sense to you?
Senator, my assessment is that if we train moderate Syrian forces, a new Syrian army, then we ought to also provide them with the wherewithal to be successful.
If this war in Syria continues the way it is going for another year, do you worry about stability in Jordan?
I do, Senator.
Do you worry about stability in Lebanon?
I do, Senator.
So the consequences of going into Syria with a regional force and all the problems associated with it have to be balanced against the consequences of ISIL surviving and thriving.
I agree with that, Senator.
In your view, over the long haul, is it in America's national security interest to do things necessary to degrade and destroy ISIL?
I do believe that's absolutely in our national interest to do that, Senator.
Do you agree with me that whatever regional army we may form, there's certain American capabilities that would be outcome determinative in any fight against ISIL, and it would be in our national security interest to provide those capabilities.
Particularly, Senator, I agree with that, Senator, particularly in the case of aviation, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and probably special operations capabilities.
Finally, if a soldier or a member of our military falls in Iraq or Syria trying to destroy ISIL, would you agree with me that they died protecting their homeland?
I would, Senator.
And that's the reason some of them may have to go back.
Senator, there's no question in my mind that the young men and women that we have deployed right now, the 3,500 that are inside of Iraq and those that are in the surrounds working for the CENTCOM in this campaign, are protecting our nation.
God bless them. God bless you. Best of luck.
Thank you, Senator.